Our bill requires Medicare and insurers to cover insulin on their plans and cap the cost to families on the private side to $35 per month. Again, it paves the way to further action.
Yes, everybody, stimulus checks are on the way for many people around the nation. In the early days of the crisis, in the city of Denver, a restaurant owner began the Change.org petition, and it called on lawmakers in Washington to send Americans recurring monthly checks, stimulus payments, until this crisis ends. And to this date, the federal government has approved around 3 rounds of stimulus checks, and ideas for continued stimulus aid are going on, and developments are happening in Congress in regards to the approval about the 4th stimulus check. So another campaign, everybody, is to provide continuing relief to Americans who found themselves furloughed or losing their livelihoods in the beginning of the crisis. Within a month, this petition collected over 1 million signatures, and despite lawmakers having passing the 1st and 2nd round of stimulus checks, this crisis continues to impact the nation, so it's pretty clear that the Biden administration is going to have to step up to the plate and send out the 4th stimulus check. Many lawmakers, for instance, in both chambers, whether it be the Senate Democrats or the Republicans in House Representatives, they're calling on President Biden to include recurring payments as part of the Build Back Better legislation. Additionally, to include automatic triggers for expanded federal unemployment compensation. In a letter from 21 senators, they reasoned that such measures are necessary because almost 6 in 10 people say the $1,400 payments only lasted them 3 months. So this crisis is far from over, and families deserve certainty that they can put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. Families cannot be at the mercy of constantly shifting legislative timelines and ad hoc solutions. So lawmakers have pointed to the effectiveness of the payments when issued together because direct payments, everybody, can offer support for struggling families who are not eligible for unemployment. It has been proposed that the payments should be automatically deposited, tying the payments to economic conditions known as automatic stabilizers. It would give families certainty that more relief is coming. And according to Senate Democrats, it would also eliminate the need for negotiations in Congress because conditions for the payments would already be set. One example is the ABC Act. It was introduced by several Democratic lawmakers to set up recurring direct payments for the duration of the crisis and beyond. The legislation has officially been put up for negotiations by Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. It will provide payments of $2,000 to every American as a crisis relief measure. They said in a press release, in the last year of this global crisis, we have seen corporations and CEOs reap the benefits of payouts and soaring profits, while everyday workers, low-income people, and families across the nation have been left to scrape by without any recurring, aggressive financial assistance. So if this ABC Act were passed, the Treasury Department is going to cut a $2,000 stimulus check, followed by a monthly unconditional basic income payment of $1,000 for 1 year after the end of the crisis. The lawmakers argued that unlike a tax cut, the ABC Act puts real money into the pockets of all Americans. The proposal calls for the U.S. Mint to 2 $1 trillion coins, which would be purchased by the Federal Reserve, and then moved into the U.S. Treasury to cover the payments. Representative Jay Paul told reporters, "Our legislation acknowledges that a one-time survival check isn't enough to get people through this time. Instead, we can send out recurring checks every month during the crisis for a year after it ends. That is money in people's pockets and certainty in people's lives."
We're here today to talk about the opportunities and challenges related to the production of critical minerals, whether through traditional mining, processing and refining, or innovative secondary recovery and reprocessing techniques. Welcome to our witnesses, and thank you for being here for this discussion. I think it's going to be very, very informative. Next week, we will continue this conversation about critical mineral supply chains and discuss the demand side and how industry will obtain and recycle these vital materials. These conversations are so important right now as the horrifying events in Ukraine show how problematic our reliance on foreign suppliers who may not share our interests and values can be. In the immediate term, our concern is, of course, Russia. But I'm also extremely concerned with China as the gatekeeper of the critical minerals that we need for everyday life that we've really taken for granted, in addition to the minerals crucial to energy and defense applications. It makes no sense to remain beholden to bad actors when we have abundant resources and manufacturing know-how here in the United States. And to make no mistake, we are beholden, particularly when it comes to many of the minerals that go into clean energy technologies. That is why I've sounded the alarm about going down the path of EVs alone and advocated for equal treatment for hydrogen. China mines 60% of global rare earth elements, crucial to high-tech applications and magnets needed for electric motors. Even more shocking, China processes almost 90% of the rare earths regardless of where they're mined in the world. The only large-scale producers of cobalt are in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where Chinese interests control many of the mines. And then 65% of the processing is done in China. Lithium is mined extensively by Australia, an ally that produces over 50% of global supply. However, China processes over 58% of global lithium and uses that material to feed their lithium battery manufacturing. It's clear that we have a problem, and the United States Geological Survey concurs. The USGS has identified 50 minerals as critical, meaning that the supply is crucial to our national and economic security and at risk of a supply disruption. I believe so strongly that we need to address vulnerabilities rather than increase them. Now is not to say that we have failed to take any action to address these risks.
It is definitely hard to be patient and wait for Congress to send out the fourth stimulus package, especially folks as the crisis just continues to negatively impact millions of Americans. But there are economists and advocacy groups that are urging President Biden to send out more relief. That's very, very good news. But without more stimulus money, we need to realize that many people, including our seniors, are in risk of falling back into poverty. That's something that cannot be happened, especially with President Biden. Tell me in the comments down below, everybody, what are your thoughts on President Biden? Hi, and welcome back to the channel. If you live in any of these states that I'm about to list, then you can expect to receive an extra $1,200 stimulus check in just a couple of days.
I look forward to our taking advantage of advances in science on this, that there is a pill that will be able to intervene in early stages, and we want to have the resources available to do that. The issues before the Supreme Court will be very important. Two cases there, one about healthcare workers, one about the president's mandate for going beyond healthcare workers.
Cities across the country, in states like California, New York, and even Florida, have also confirmed the new stimulus program. They'll provide residents with $12,000 in payments. This is especially great news for all of you. So, continue watching this video if you want to know the latest news about Social Security payments, SSI, SSDI, RRB, VA benefits, and Social Security, and fourth stimulus checks of $2,000.
Some additional financial relief may be coming to 69 million Americans who collect Social Security. Advocacy groups project that they are on track to get a 6.1% cost of living adjustment, the biggest increase since 1983. And it comes as pandemic restrictions ease, causing a jump in inflation, with prices rising for everything from gasoline to groceries.
Now, we all know with the crisis still negatively impacting the country, many Americans are eagerly waiting for the fourth stimulus checks to arrive in their bank accounts. That is very, very good news. The franchise tax